Thank you very much, everybody. I would like first to pay tribute to President Duterte for his great achievements. My comment will start from internal development of the Philippines, since it will provide me with the logic to understand the Philippine foreign policy and President Duterte's China policy and its turnaround of the bilateral relations. As an outsider, allow me to humbly say something on internal affairs of the Philippines. President Duterte's high popularity in the Philippines rests upon his honest addressing people's concerns and vigorous tackling the issues of development and safety and security. The president has been maintaining a record high trust rate and approval rate throughout his presidency, higher than any of his three predecessors. His average approval rate is over 75%, sometimes even higher than 90%. How to explain this? Some opposing media or his political opponents say that this might be attributed to his team's effectiveness to manipulate social media or to spread the misinformation, and even by intimidating the people who are interviewed. To explain this, I think need to understand what President Duterte has brought to the country. The past 6 years has seen a real change in the Philippines, which was the change President Duterte promised to deliver and has done so truthfully. His administration has brought better life for the Philippines. His success anchors with his precise cognition of the thoughts and requirements of the people. To simply put, he has subtly felt the pulse of the people and the country. I still remember that once I joined a FAFA tour to visit the Davao city, then President Duterte was the mayor of the city. When FAFA team just paid a courtesy quote to the president, to the mayor Duterte, and reacting to one question asking whether he would like to run the president next year. His answer is, if people need, I will consider. Actually, people need him, and he really understands people's needs. They want to live safe and comfortable lives, both aspects of which have faced tough challenges at the time. Therefore, quite reasonable that after taking office, President Duterte prioritized both development and security issues as his top agenda. We can list a broad scope of his internal policies and reform agendas, including but not limited to, first, implementing anti-drug, anti-crime, anti-corruption, fighting terror, counterinsurgency strategies to ensure safety, security, and justice of the country. Two, the maintaining high GDP growth rates with sustainable poverty reduction achievement. Meanwhile, reforming the medical and education sectors to guarantee the universal access of people, contributing to the nation's overall inclusive development. Three, pushing ahead with ambitious build program, addressing the badly needed infrastructure issue. Plenty of this country's big projects relating to railway, highway, airport, bridge, dam, etc. have been emerged. Second, I would like to address some issues now his foreign policy and in particular, his friendly and cooperative relations with China. I agree with Dr. Van Looy's the point that we should not just use the word pivot to describe Duterte's friendly and cooperative relation with China, because this word will simply belie the vastness and the multi-layers of the Philippines' foreign policy. Because Philippines has many other foreign partners, we should not just be ignoring. So China is just one country that Philippines should be very much take importance to. So to understand his friendly and cooperative China policy, we should understand that the background of this turnaround, not just coming from the domestic development. President Duterte's national development strategy made him to choose China, to cooperate and to be friendly with China, so to ensure a better environment and a better condition, both internally and externally. So we can simply say that President Duterte's so-called China pivot was determined by the Philippines' national development strategy and serves the best interest of the Philippines. Here we can highlight some points of his interaction and achievements with China. Both the Philippines and China stressed that South China Sea issue is not the totality of the bilateral relations and agreed to properly handle it through direct and friendly consultation. As many experts already pointed out that the BCM, the bilateral consultative mechanisms between the two countries has been proven effective to advance cooperation and manage and control the difference between the two countries. Two countries' deepening cooperation in economic, trade, and investment fields has become vibrant to the great benefit of two nations and the two peoples. China is the largest trade partner of the Philippines, the second largest foreign direct investor, and the third largest importer of Philippines products. China had finished plenty of infrastructure projects and is pushing forward for the new batches. Great potential has shown for China's participation of the infrastructure construction in the Philippines, because China's Belt and Road Initiative is well aligned with the Philippines Build program. Prior to the COVID, China has stably attained the status of second largest source of tourists visiting the Philippines. China also provided badly needed vaccines to assist Philippines' COVID prevention and control. Also, China adamantly supports the Philippines' anti-drug, anti-crime, and fighting terror campaigns, for which China and the Philippines have undertaken broad exchanges and cooperation. China provided drug rehabilitation facilities in Mindanao, donated several batches of weaponry amidst Maravi counter-terror war. President Duterte once said, China played an important role in helping secure the victory of the war. Talking about defense exchange and cooperation, in addition to armament cooperation, some important achievements need to be mentioned here, such as resumption of the annual defense and security dialogue, mutual visits by military cadets, expansion of Philippine military trainees in several Chinese military academies, conduct of port visits of naval ships, etc., which served for the enhancement of the mutual understanding and the strategic trust. Looking to the future, we have strong confidence to believe that Sino-Philippine relations will drive to a higher gear in a new era. Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s election as next Philippine president once again indicates the Filipinos care most the country's development and the people's well-being. Therefore, hyping with the South China Sea issue and stirring confrontation and conflict is not their choice. The election also shows the majority of the Philippine people support the government's pragmatic and cooperative approach towards China, and to put the issue of the South China Sea at an appropriate place of the bilateral relations. Given his policy inclination, family legacy, and bond with President Duterte, it is optimistic that the next Marcos administration would quite likely sustain the friendly policies towards China and will be met with the latter's cooperation and support in both internal development and external pursuit of independent foreign policy. Here, I would like to present some ideas for the better Sino-Philippine relations under new administration of President Marcos. As my colleague have already touched the issues of maritime security and cooperation, here I would humbly share some points focusing on other areas. First, strengthening the strategic dialogue to enhance the mutual understanding and trust. By knowing each other's position and bottom line, try to accommodate mutual concern. Both countries need to also discuss international issues such as AUKUS, IPEF, namely Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, as these issues are impacting regional situation and countries concerned. Second, broadening Sino-Philippine defense engagement to improve the trust and confidence building measures so as to avoid misconception and miscalculation. There are also need to explore more cooperative fields for the two defense establishments and armed forces, such as joint counter-terror training and exercise, and counter-pirate joint patrol in some specific maritime regions, and to explore the establishment of joint ventures of defense industry producing small arms and ammunition, so as to meet the requirement gap of the security forces of the Philippines. Fourth, need to address some slander rumors against China's investment in the Philippines. For instance, insufficiency of the investment, slow delivery, echo impact, debt trap, etc. Both sides ought to make clarification about the specific project as needed, while Philippine media is encouraged to report more positively on an achievement, because China will honor its commitment. Lastly, but not least, China will fully respect the Philippines' independent foreign policy and would not oppose the Philippines to develop relations and cooperation with any other countries. However, such cooperation would probably be considered hostile if it impairs China's national interests. President Duterte decided to largely downsize and limit Philippine-US Balikatan exercise, to refuse to send Philippine ships to join US patrols in the South China Sea, and to oppose US to conduct air and naval patrols by using Philippine bases as springboard, etc. All these actions showed how much risky and dangerous situation President Duterte understands US might drag the Philippines into. With the US getting on gear to contain China, the South China Sea will not be quiet. I hope our friends here and other friends in Philippine academia could understand what the best interest is for the country. Thank you, everybody.